It is round 3 of the World Cup. Today was the first game of round 3. So right now there are 64 players left and it gets halved every round. And today we are going to see the game by world number 1, Magnus Carlsen, who was playing as compatriot, Aryan Tari. So Carlsen played a crazy game today, both of them actually. And it was an opening surprise maybe. So let me show you what happened. D4, knight f6, c4 and e6. Knight c3. So we have a sort of Indian game, e3, castles, and bishop d2. So c5. Now it's this Nimso Indian. Bishop has come to b4, and here a3, asking the bishop the question. Takes, and knight e4. This is around where the game becomes a little out of hand. b6, d5, and bishop a6. Pawn f3, attacking the knight. Knight takes. And here Aryan Tari played a very interesting move, probably opening prep, and probably both of them know this move. He played bishop takes pawn. So the idea is he's getting a pawn. After takes, he gets back the piece by queen h4 check and queen takes bishop. So is it bad for Carlsen already? Not really, because white is slightly ahead in development and black's queen is out a bit too early. And the point is, the black knight cannot develop that easily. If you play d6, then I take here and the queen becomes active. And what happened in the game was h4 by Magnus Carlsen. A very nice move. So keeping options of h5, h6 for future if the king stays here. And here Aryan Tari took. So what are the other options? Can he play d6? What would have happened if d6 was played in this position? Just go h5. Wow. This Alpha Zero kind of idea. White is still in a better position now. h6 is coming. h6, queen c2 castles maybe is possible. So Aryan Tari probably aware of this because he's still with 1 hour. It's a 1.5 hour game, right? So takes. Here he took a lot of time, Aryan Tari, and he took. Magnus is still in his prep. He has 1 hour 23 minutes. Magnus didn't even think. He takes back. Now the point being, after knight c6, white is still down a pawn, but white has got some compensation, but white's king is stuck, right? But the thing is, white plays a very nice move. Magnus plays a very nice move here. That's a very key move. Queen has not many squares left, right? All the squares here are gone. Look at these nice pawns. And there are only 2 squares, and that will lead to a fork. So that is the point. Queen went back and knight c7. So white gets an exchange for all this. b4. So white has to give up some pawns now. Takes. And now queen d2. So what is the material situation? Once rook takes the knight, it's going to be 1 point up for Tari. So what will it be? So takes. And this a3 pawn is hanging. So takes. It's 2 pawns for the exchange right now. It's very even. But Magnus Carlsen now shows his main hobby, which is to convert slightly better positions or completely dry positions into win. So here is an exchange up, so it's not completely dry, but rook a6 and takes. King f2. So taking was apparently not the right move. So okay, takes doesn't change much. So these are all normal actually. Knight d5 back, and then rook a1. So Aryan Tari didn't have much of a choice here. He has to go into this position with a rook versus knight, 2 pawns. So can he hold against a world champion? I mean, sorry, I keep saying world champion. He's a rapid world champion. This Magnus Carlsen, the world number 1. King e7. It's still within drawing limits, but Magnus has a good edge now. Pawn h5 and g4. So Magnus is trying to create a fast pawn this way for future. And now g6 was played. Rook b8, trying to get from behind. Like after takes, there's a weakness here. So he wants to target that. King d6. So far, Aryan is doing fine. It's still not completely winning for Magnus yet. But here, Aryan Tari makes a mistake. It's so difficult to see why there's a mistake. Because it feels natural to try to exchange of more pawns. Right? But the problem is after f5 takes, I mean, either take would have led to kind of the same position. Right? Magnus just chooses take on h5. And now there are two weaknesses. That's a problem. So if you don't play f5, there'll be one weakness here, and that one will be sort of defended, right? And the king would be able to get in. So the correct way to play here is just king c5. And then if takes, if rook h8, how do you defend the pawn? Just give up the pawn. Knight f6 seems not that great because rook h6, right? So just push the pawn. Let rook take. Now b4. So there is enough counterplay for black here. But instead, what happened in the game was f5 takes and rook h8, and now f4 because if you directly go knight f6, the king jumps in. B pawn is still not fast enough. F4 king moves, knight moves. But the problem is the king is still in the area of action. He can stop both the pawns. He's still fine. So this is why it's completely winning for Magnus because the king is now active. The king that was stuck here is now active on d3 and now d6, rook h6, d5, and just rook g6, just waiting. And the knight can't move. King can move, but then rook g5. Actually, it's kind of threatening rook g5. So b5, now rook g5 check, king moves, and he did not play king d4. I wonder why not. Why not activate the king? He just wanted to stay on c3, like torturing the opponent. Again, the knight can't move, the king can't move to any great squares. And if the king moves here, then rook f5 comes. So he's totally paralyzed. This is Aryan Tari. Aryan Tari played knight e7 and now king d4, not taking the pawn. I mean, he could take the pawn now, but he's not keeping it for the future. What's the hurry? King d4, knight f6, and now rook g7, pawn b4, rook a7, and then the everything falls. D pawn falls, and now b pawn is also going to. Oh, he took the knight. That's a nice finish by Magnus. He does not even take the pawn, which would still be winning, I suppose. Rook takes pawn, will it be winning? Knight takes this counterplay for black. Yeah, black will have some counter. It's still winning, but the cleanest way is what he chose: takes, and just takes. And it's it's equal material. Like look at the what do you say? The nerves of steel of Magnus. I mean, he goes for an equal endgame, but the king is more active for white. If king comes to f5, wait, yeah, if king comes to let's say f5, why is the engine acting weird here? Because engine is just saying plus 44 right now, mate in 44 right now. But after black's move, okay, probably we'll need to think more. We'll need more depth to again go to mate. So now just king c4. The king is like pushed away, edged away out of the board. King e6, king d4. This is a very basic endgame which Magnus is like he knows by heart. It's in his blood. These endgames. So how much time did it take to decide rook takes knight? Let's see. Wow, he did not even think. Like it's intuition for him. This rook takes knight. He doesn't even think. He takes 6 seconds to play rook takes knight. Did he think before that move? Not really. So the confidence of the man, of the world number one. And here Aryan Tari resigned. He's down on time and the position is just gone. So Magnus wins the first game. Tomorrow is game two. And probably Magnus will go to round four. And in round four, he'll be facing a tough opponent. Still not top level opponent yet, but the higher the rounds go, once we reach round 5, 6, then things will heat up.